Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, veterans. Welcome home. I'm Coach Jay Reed and my co-host here, Coach Jeff. Thank you for joining us here this Wednesday. Before we get started on the topic, just want you to sound off in the comments. Tell us what branch you served in, where you're from, and how many years you served if you want. And then we'll give you a shout out in the live here so we can recognize you and appreciate you guys and gals joining us for this Facebook Live.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here with us. Thank you, Coach, as well, for being here. Hey, we've got a little sciatica going on my side, so that's a perfect segue once we get to that topic. How does that, right? How can that translate to what we're going to talk to here? So, absolutely. Thanks for everybody being here.
We got Robert Little in Air Force, 4 years. Vonda Martinez, U.S. Army, 10 years. Welcome. And we'll just keep it coming for a little bit. And today we're talking about how your service-connected disabilities can affect your mental health and impact your quality of life. And we're going to dive in a little bit deeper, but for now, we're just going to do a few introductions, shout-outs. We're going to talk about how we got here, our little journey, and then we're going to open up for our topic, and then we'll do some questions and answers after. Upshift, 26, 15 years. Army Reserve National Guard, appreciate your service. Stanley, 25 years, outstanding, appreciate your service too. Jerry, Oklahoma, Navy CB.
There you go. I got some connection to Oklahoma.
There you go. Big Time 911, there for 6 years. Thank you, sir or ma'am. Ruben, we're doing great. Thank you for asking. Appreciate that. Ronnie, Air Force, 85 to 93. Appreciate your service as well. Got Mark Nichols, 90% here in the sunny Clearwater, Florida. Congrats to you for getting there 9% and enjoy that weather. I know some other other folks on this live here are not enjoying nice sunny weather, so don't make anybody jealous there, Mark. Ruben, U.S. Army, appreciate you. Mark, Army again. Got a lot of Army. Got Shelly.
We're going to fill back in. Marines will fill in. If you're a Marine out there, you go ahead and Semper Fi, put it out there. We can't let the Army show us up, guys. Come on now.
I know, right? Hey, I'm Army, so I'm going to always be for Army. Got Shelly.
I have zero issue with the Army. I trained at Fort Sill.
It's all one fight, one team, one fight, no matter what branch.
Agreed.
Just
absolutely. So much agree.
Got Shelly here, say her stepdad, brother lived with her full time, 94-year-old Navy vet. Awesome. Good on you. As a caregiver, yeah, we can dive into that later. There's a caregiver program actually, but we'll go into our disclaimer and all that stuff. And yeah, definitely va.gov is the place to go to look that up for your caregiver program for your brother and your dad for sure. Tim, 84 to 88.
There you go.
Overseas, I like that. Welcome.
Well, I say Marines, and of course, guess what happens? Now it's an influx of Navy.
There you go.
I guess I'll take it. Semper Fi, Semper Fortis.
Jay Cost, 2 years Navy Reserve, also in Oklahoma. We got Oklahoma represented today too.
Good with it.
Flulin, if I'm pronouncing that right. Fred, U.S. Army retired, 20 years, 4 months and 3 days. I love it. Specific. Thank you for your service. I know I did my 4 years, 8 months, and I was pretty much done with mine. So I always respect the veterans that could make it all the way to 20 years. So appreciate your service and your dedication there. Welcome, Charles. Thank you.
Got some red legs. We got those artillery bubbas. Good deal.
Right. Got Rachel, U.S. Army, San Antonio. So you're out here in Texas, out there in Texas, I should say, where our companies, kind of have its foundation. Zara, very traumatic. I guess we'll talk about that when we dive into our topic. Diana, getting ready to retire. Congrats on that. And you're definitely in the right place to try to get some information and some good nuggets on how to get any service-connected conditions
Mm-hmm.
you have linked to any negative emotions or mental health you've got going on situation. So, welcome. I think one of your vets said, "Hey, Coach Jeff, Rachel."
Yep, I saw. Hey, Rachel. Sorry, my computer's taking some time to load. And
Gotcha.
then I got a little bit further down. Somebody said, "What's wrong with Navy?" Nothing, because I love. I mean, I love all branches. I was just to the paying attention to the amount of comments or concentrated at one time was Navy, in response also Army. That's all it was. There's
There you
nothing
go.
there.
Navy 24 years. Now you mentioned that. Parish, outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Colby, 4 years. Patrick, another 70s to 84, outstanding.
There we go.
Dan, again,
Well,
he's down to the date, 15 years, 3 months, and 28 days, and counting.
hey, Coach, you got a minute? I think we got some friends with us, right? We know somewhere they're from. Oklahoma, down to Clearwater, Florida. We even saw Alaska. I don't know about Maine. I'm pretty sure some other people from like in Europe or in the Middle East. Maybe if you're there, I don't know. I live in Mexico myself. Where do you live at?
I am actually in Panama. Not
Okay,
Panama, Florida, but Panama, South America, Panama. Because some people say right here in Florida. But
there you
yeah,
go.
I'll get into that too in a little bit when we do our introductions on how I ended up here. And part of it is,
Hmm.
this particular type of claim right here, mental health, was a big part of
Agreed.
me being able to do that. And I'm sure you can attest to the same thing. Getting to your goal of 100% mental health was part of that. So we'll dive into that as well. Zara said she's rated 70% for PTSD. Congrats on getting the rating that you deserve and fighting
Hmm.
for your benefits. All right.
But most importantly, thank you all for being here. Okay,
Absolutely.
we still have brothers and sisters that are not here. So this
Mhm.
means I'm glad that you all are here. So that means we can go into something, and this topic is near and dear to my heart. And I know we kind of, hey, we're going to get into it. We will, right? We got to introduce ourselves first, and everybody that has been doing it as such, especially with the Army, veterans, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, even now Space Force. You served, you deserve. That's
Absolutely.
I believe that. I believe that. So.
I see Roberto saying Rivera, needs some assistance on his claim, been dealing with it for over 20 years. Definitely in the right place. No matter how long ago you got out or how long you've been fighting, we'll definitely go ahead and try to
Hmm.
get you where you need to be and meet you where you are and give you that assistance. So no worries. All right. So we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. You want to go ahead first, Jeff, or
Absolutely.
go
Thank you.
ahead?
As you all know, probably by the nature of my haircut and my natural demeanor and probably odor, United States Marine Corps, proud veteran, 2009, 2013 active. I got off active duty from California, so I'm a West Coast guy. Don't hate me there, second Mardiv, but hey, big red. We're with the one. So got off active duty, went to reserves, and I did my reserve time. Got out as a major, had some time as intelligence, and all that, and ended up being a police officer there in Oklahoma. That's my connection. But originally born and raised up in Indiana. I'm a Boilermaker by graduation and by identification. And I'll be honest with you, the thing that brought me here was I've been here 2 years ago this month. So I've been here this month, 2 years now. Best job I've ever had, vocation I've ever had. Why did I do it? Because this is a passion, and I wanted a passion to grow into something that I could do full time, and that's what it is. I'm able to speak with veterans. I live in Mexico, right? And I'm able to speak to veterans. Like I had a call with somebody in Guam this morning, 0405. I was, hey, we got to do it. Any climate place. That's what the Marine Corps teaches. So I love it. This is a family. And so, everybody, thank you for being here. And thanks for allowing me. Now, yourself, what branch were you?
Outstanding, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, so I am Coach Jay Reed. I have been here for a little over 3 years. My story, I was actually a client of VACI before I became a coach. I was at 10% for my back for about 13 years, and I didn't know anything about increases or filing for mental health or anything. I just thought you got a rating and you kind of just get what you get and don't get upset and kind of kick rocks. But, you know, my fiance at the time, who's not my wife, she kind of stumbled upon Brian Reese's videos, the founder of the company, and say, what do you have to lose? If you don't get an increase on your claim, then you don't owe anything. And, you have some stuff you've been suffering with, your back is messed up, you're still young, and there's things you can't do anymore. And I know that, makes you upset. You can't play basketball, you can't do certain things that you used to do as your vices. So I listened, and I went ahead and had my coach Terrell, who's now the president of the company. He was my coach, and he convinced me to go and do my mental health claim, get that IMO, or independent medical opinion, and get my medical evidence together. Lucky for me, I had some complaints in service, so I was able to get my migraines, my mental health, my plantar fasciitis, and my back. And that was at 10. Got that increased to 40%, and I actually went from 10% to 100% permanently in total in little under 2 months, which was mind blowing to me, and it changed my life. So I decided to pay it forward, and I reached out to VACI and wondered if they had any positions for coaches to help other veterans get their legal, moral, and ethical benefits. And here I am. So been doing it ever since. I stepped away from the bedside as a registered nurse in the ICU and the ER because of my symptoms. And I'm sure a lot of people on here can attest to whatever job you're having, your physical conditions or mental health can make that job harder or more difficult to complete. And some people retire early, some people leave their bedside or whatever type of job you have. And so, like Jeff said, as long as you have internet, you can help veterans all over the world. And that's what I've been doing this whole time. So because of 100% P&T, I was able to get that life change and, step away from nursing, have my wife, who's a respiratory therapist, she stepped away from the bedside as well. And we moved to Panama, and we've been here since June of last year, enjoying life. So, the sky's the limit, once you have the benefits you deserve. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, thank you for sharing that. No, honestly, I like the non-traditional. That's why I went Marine Corps, right? You say Marine, people are like, okay, that's interesting. So thank you for sharing. It honestly takes a lot to share that, and that's what we want to enumerate with you all today. And he said something very interesting that I'm going to get to after this disclaimer. Okay, you said something that kind of went along like strategy, something. I know you know
Education,
what I mean. You know what I mean. We're
evidence.
going to get into it. Absolutely. I'm a fan of it because it keeps things organized.
Absolutely.
I'm going to read this out real quick that we are not accredited agents. All right. VSOs, attorneys, or any other entity recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs. All right. We are not affiliated with the VA in any way. VA Claims Insider is an education based coaching consulting company for disabled veterans exploring eligibility for increased VA disability benefits and who wish to learn more about that process. VA Claims Insider also connects veterans with independent medical professionals in our referral network for medical examinations and independent medical opinions, or IMO. We like to acronymize things, right? For a wide range of disability conditions. So, what does that mean, and why do I say that? Well, let's get into it. It said there, hey, we're not part of the VA or accredited agents, but we are coaches. You've been through the process. Your process took you, what'd you say, 2 months?
Yeah,
That's because you had a focused individual helping you, guiding you, and picking those targets, right?
absolutely.
I was an artillery officer. So when I did mine, you did more of hey, we got to do this, we do this, and then we drop 5-0, two or three things
Right,
maybe. I did a regimental mass when I first did mine. There was no strategy.
right.
There was definitely some haphazard education when I did it myself. And the medical evidence was there by nature of my medical evidence. And I got 90% based off of it. And then what we're going to talk about is what I did after that mental health condition or depression, anxiety, that lifestyle impact. So leading into that, what we do, the one-on-one coaching. Did you feel with Terrell as your coach, now the leader or the president of
Right.
the company? Do you feel that he provided that?
No pressure. Yeah, no, or no. Terrell was awesome. Yes, he absolutely did, and
Hmm.
that kind of shaped the way I became a coach by pulling from how he was a coach to me, and it was more than just bombarding me with task or bombarding me with you got to do this or that, but it was that actual personal relationship. Like,
Hmm.
hey, you can text me anytime, you can pick up the phone and call me anytime you have any questions when you're feeling discouraged or you want to give up, or the VA is kind of dragging and taking forever and it feels like they're moving like cold peanut butter, you gotta you gotta hang in there with your coach, and he was that for me. There's plenty of times I'm like, man, this is not gonna work. I'm too young, or they're gonna just
That's
say that I can
true.
stretch or suck it up like they usually do when you're young. You take your ibuprofen 800 or vitamin I and keep moving. And again, that's what we're used to. But no, that 2 months that went by, I was blown away. Like I said, and no, don't get me wrong. It's not going to be 2 months for every single veteran. Every
No,
case is different, but that's just my experience. And I've had some veterans with the same experience that had a short period of time, even less than that. I think the record right now, Terrell actually holds it for the fastest claim submission to decision is like 4 hours. And
well,
I don't
okay,
know how, but
that's
that no,
that's
he holds that
superhuman.
record, right? But
That's
yeah,
superhuman. I
that
think
coaching
mine took
is
3 to 4 years. Mine
right.
took 3 to 4 years. I didn't have the strategy.
Exactly.
I mean, I just did what hey, go do this. They wanted to file tinnitus, but I said, hey, I'm missing 2 discs,
There you
and it's
go.
making me angry. What else can I do? I didn't know that until I came here. That really, this is what it is. Truly, being able to have veterans talk about those things, right, and being able to connect with
Absolutely.
veterans, especially, we also do what is it, coffee with the coaches in the morning.
Mhm.
Um, we have how many classes a day now? Is 2 or 3 a day, right?
Yeah, we got the mental health prep. We have
That's
the
right.
regular physical claims prep. We have the coffee with coaches at eight
Hmm.
central every day, um, and then that's pretty much it. And with
Hmm.
those classes, oh, we have the women's circle Wednesday. Do not forget that one. Very
Huge.
important class and huge resource for our female vets to feel safe and have that safe space to talk about stuff. They may not be more comfortable talking in a more open setting with both genders. So I think that's an amazing thing. One of our coaches, Cassie Allen, she kind of broached that to the company, and it just took off from there. And I think that's awesome. Um, and yeah, that SEM method or SEM method, as we call it, strategy, education, medical evidence, can make a difference between, again, a situation like yours, Jeff, where you're kind of going back and forth, or your
Hmm.
VSO is not really helping you, or you're trying to figure it out on your own, and the VA is this big labyrinth that you kind of have to
Agreed.
just spray and pray, and that typically you may hit something sometimes, but being efficient and cutting it down to again a laser focus and laser sharp strategy will save you a lot of heartache and mental fortitude of dealing with the VA back and forth and getting your claims combined in the wrong way and stuff like that. So that's why we focus on having that strategy session with your coach, the coach assisting you or walking you through that claim submission process. And actually the most important part of the whole deal is really that CMP exam. You can have
Hmm.
all your medical evidence together, you can have the best strategy, but if you don't go into that compensation and pension exam prepared and ready to tell your truth and be vulnerable and keep it about your service, then you can I always tell my vets, it's like court. Whatever you say or do could be used against you in the court of the VA. So you have to be very careful when you go into these exams, and stick to the
Agreed.
strategy and trust your coach and go from there, for sure.
I was a cop. That's why you
Right.
say that kind of stuff, and that's how I use it.
Mhm.
Right? And honestly, we'll get into the topic, but the evidence piece, right?
Right.
What's the difference between one and the other? Do you go to do you just use your things from service and that's it? Right? These are things that you work through with your coach, right? That's that strategy. And I wish I had that, but when I went through and it took me 3 4 years, my process, and I'm grateful for it because it taught me what not to do, right?
Right.
Being with the company for 2 years now, teach, hey, let's do it this way. And you said one word that was very succinct, and I appreciate it, the efficiency of it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. No, thank you for that.
You
And
got it.
then we have discovery calls, right? If y'all are new, coming on first time, Facebook, you're just like, hey, somebody urged me to do this. My wife was nagging in my ear. My husband was nagging in my ear. Go do something, check it out. If you're not too sure about the program, just do the discovery call. It doesn't hurt to just talk with somebody, honestly. But I've talked with individuals like, hey, I'm not sure. What do we do? I talk with them 15, 20 minutes, probably same for you, Jay Reed. And then you've been working with that person 2 3 2 years. I've been working with some people. It takes longer, right? I've been working with
Right.
them for that long. So um, now I think we can also then I think we should get into the topic. 20 minutes in, I think we're good to, if you want to get into
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about how your physical conditions, whether it be something that's rated at 0% or 10% or
Hmm.
no matter, as long as it's service connected, if it's causing you to have mental health issues or symptoms or negative emotions or whatever you want to call it, we're not the doctors, we let them do that, but your symptoms will speak for themselves. Once you have those symptoms from your physical condition and it's affecting your quality of life, then we want to talk about how you can link your mental health claim to that physical condition
Okay.
as a secondary so you can get your mental health service connected versus direct service connection or linking it, to a stressor or a stressor event, as in terms of like PTSD. It's a
Hmm.
type of mental health, and I want to make that distinction because a lot of vets are confused about mental health. They think that if you have PTSD, then you can go for another type of mental health claim. But unless it's like a traumatic brain injury or an eating disorder, I think those are the only two. You can have two mental health conditions. The VA is typically going to only pick one, and that's your mental health condition. So whether it be
Agreed.
anxiety, depression, insomnia, whatever you call it, it's going to be that one mental health claim. But today we're specifically talking about physical conditions causing you mental health issues and that lifestyle impact or that quality of life being diminished or having a lower quality of life and impacting in that way. And not just your home life or your social life, but your occupational life as well.
Absolutely.
Very important because the VA is rating you for um, occupational and social impairment. So you have to make sure that you're talking about how their physical condition causes you issues at your job or made you leave the workforce early or whatever, or made you change careers and maybe now you
Hmm.
can't be around people anymore. Now you have to stay at home and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. I have a couple success stories when it comes to this type of claim. A few of them I know you do too, but there's a couple of them that
100%.
really stand out for me. I had one veteran that he was at 10% just for his tinnitus, and that's ringing in your ears. And I know
Hmm.
a bunch of us on here can attest to that particular claim or particular condition is
Absolutely.
that 10% doesn't begin to tell the story of how it impacts your life. But the way to make that work for you is to get that mental health claim connected as a secondary to that tinnitus. And I had a veteran, he was, 25 years, he was at 10% for this tinnitus. And he was on, spouse number five and, couldn't keep a job. And it was just, really affecting him. And he was almost on the street and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
So I kind of broke it down for him like, hey, they're never going to give you more than 10% for the actual condition of tinnitus. That's where that tops off. But if you, go ahead and get an independent medical opinion or an IMO, as we call it here, from a psych doctor. I know someone in the chat was asking about, trusted psych doctors or
Right.
veteran ones. And Telemedica is the company that partners with us. And this independent network of doctors that can get you that IMO or independent medical opinion so you can link your service connected condition. But long story short, that veteran actually listened. He finally, understood how the strategy would work, told his truth, and he was recommended at 100% by Telemedica for, his depression, major depression, secondary to his tinnitus. Then we prepared for his CMP exam, and he came back at 100% permanently in total from 10%
Wow.
all the way to 100 P&T. And, we cried, laughed on the phone, and he was beating himself up because he was like, I could have done this, 20 years ago or 25 years ago. And now I understand, all those relationships that were spoiled and all
Hmm.
those jobs that I couldn't keep. It wasn't technically my fault. It was just, I wasn't understanding the connection between this ring
Right.
in my ears and how it was affecting my mental health. So that epiphany itself, besides getting the monetary value, having that self-awareness, like, okay, my mental health is being affected by this physical condition that the military caused, was a huge eye opener and a huge life change for him. So there is that. And I'm sure again you can piggyback off of that.
My, no, I love that story. Like, I was in a grocery store about 5 months ago, and it was like a small rocket went off of my shoulder. My kids were playing, and I don't know what happened, but it was just that sound because I was artillery for 10 years, and it hit, it rang so loud, and I ducked down, like, more dramatic than when I'm sitting down right now. But what does that do then, socially, like out there, like, where I'm living and everything like that, and I jerk down. I have some social anxiety from that now that there wasn't before. And then my own story I can leverage is that my secondary mental health connection is connected to my sciatica, which I enumerated before the call, is because I went for a run and or a jog is more of a jog, and I fell pretty hard on it, and it activated it. Now I'm not sleeping, right? So service connected conditions are now affecting my already service connected mental state, which is true,
Absolutely.
right? Your irritability comes from it, right? And then you snap at people, or I don't drive anymore because I don't want to. I don't really need to drive down here, so I walk places. But still, sometimes I can, I can be standing waiting somewhere, that hypersomnolence or whatever they call it. You standing up
Right.
sleeping. So
Right.
the reason I enumerate that is personal level, on a huge personal level. And I
Mhm.
have other veterans similar to you with the 10%, or I have other veterans that are like, they're 80, 70, 90 for migraines. We say musculoskeletal, right?
Right.
You say body issues, but I have individuals that are dealing with, uh, I say individuals, veterans I work with, GERD,
Right.
topping out at that higher and not 30. I think it can go to six, whatever the percentage, it goes up to 60, I think it is. And they also have migraines, right? And and so it's not, they can move their hands, arms, back, everything, really nothing, but it's the internal workings too that can add to that.
Absolutely.
100%. I know that. Individuals that go in and do this, I think you have your primary service connection, and then what does that filter out? Like Coach Jerry Reed said,
You made a
That's
good point too with at the very least, some veterans may not think they have depression or
mm-hmm.
anxiety or mood disorder or whatever else, but you can't really argue with the fact that your back or you're ringing in your ears or that pain that you're feeling from whatever condition is causing you to not be able to sleep or stay asleep or
Mm-hmm.
fall asleep. And that insomnia is considered mental health. So at that very point there, pretty much that's 90 to 100% of us veterans with service connected conditions.
Mm-hmm.
It affects our sleep. And if you're not sleeping, no, that's going to affect your mood. That's going to affect your memory. That's going to affect a lot of different things. So, at the very least, be open to thinking about how your service connected condition affects your ability to fall asleep or stay asleep. And fancy word, insomnia. It's a huge deal for most veterans. A lot of us, get prescribed medications for it, and we just kind of suck it up. But at that same point, know that that is actually a mental health claim that you can file with your coach if that sounds familiar to your life. So,
Mm-hmm.
definitely touch on that. And typically, there's some keys to success, of getting your mental health service connected to a physical condition that you may be suffering with. Again, even if it's at 0%, that doesn't matter. As long as it's service connected, you can link it to your mental health. Um, and again, one of the mistakes a lot of veterans make they'll try to link it, direct to their service versus or talk about another condition that's not service connected and how it affects their mental health. And that's a recipe for disaster because what's going to happen is if you go to the VA complaining about, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, like Jeff mentioned, you have tinnitus, but
Mm-hmm.
you have and that's service connected, but you have migraines as well that's not service connected, and you go into your mental health exam talking about how bad your migraines affect your life. And I have 50% for my migraines, so I completely empathize and understand with that condition. But if it's not service connected and you go in with that verbiage and that dialogue, they will say, well, hey, we didn't cause your migraine. So if your
Right.
migraine is now causing you insomnia or causing you mental health issues, that's not our fault either. Denied, denied. So again, trust your strategy with your coach and know that if you're going for a claim where you're going for mental health secondary to a service connected condition, or we call it lifestyle impact, but that's not actually a claim you can file, but it's just a way to describe the type of claim. You want to really stick to your service connected conditions or condition or conditions only.
Mm-hmm.
Do not bring up stuff that's not service connected. Um, Having a diagnosis is a huge part of any claim that you want to file. The medical evidence as well, and also having that IMO or having
Mm-hmm.
that medical evidence to connect your symptoms of your mental health to that service connected condition. Because again, the VA and the military will admit that you have a condition, whether it be anxiety, depression, PTSD. They'll even treat you for it. They'll give you
But they.
medications. They'll schedule you for appointments with your
Mm-hmm.
site doctor, but they will not admit that they caused it. And that's where that IMO and that independent medical opinion with that nexus statement involved in there will come in handy and help you to prove that connection from your symptoms to your service-connected disability. Can't stress that enough. It's vital. That was part of the reason I got my 70% for my mental health. I used the same company, Telemedica, as a client. Did my psych eval video conference, and I was able to get my 70% for my mental health service connected. So, I know the process, it works. And that was part of the reason why it prompted me to become a coach and keep paying it forward, because I know the process and the strategy does work.
It is, because it's like you said earlier, right? I love listening to people speak. You used the word earlier, labyrinth. That's what the VA is, right? That is exactly what the VA is. But also, JR, you're a human. I'm a human. We all have a brain. And that brain can be a labyrinth, right? And we're quite honestly told to suck it up, fake it till you make it, just
Right.
push on. Like, and what you already said that, so I'm not gonna jump on that. But what I will say is it does take some self responsibility, but also it's amazing that if you can have that self responsibility and admission to say I need help, because not only is it, it's great you get some money every month. I love it. I'm going to be honest with you. I get great medical care. And somebody asked another question about living abroad or whatever. We check out va.gov. You can get medical care abroad for you, the veteran, service connected conditions only, even at zero. All right. I'm not going to go into that now because it's not the content of the class. But what is the content? Still working, but I still have the issues. Everybody has issues when they work, right? But us as veteran specific, that's what we're talking about, because we were told to for 4 years or 20, if we have the long timers, and whatever branch it was, the culture was just put it away. Don't worry about it. And then you get out 1 year, 2, 5, 10, 30 years later. I'm working with some dudes and dudettes, or excuse me, clients. I'll just say dudes and dudettes from 30 years ago, or
Right.
they're still like 30 years later after service Vietnam. Well, we
Absolutely.
also have that, the new legislation that came out. But before any of the physical, before any of all that, take a look at your mental space. It's just as important. If you're doing push ups for your chest or crunches, don't do crunches. If you're doing some type of ab workout for your abs, right? The brain is. And this is the first point to do it. If you're sitting at 40 for 10 years, 50 at 70, 7 years, or however long you've been sitting at whatever percentage thinking, there's no other way. This labyrinth of the VA, right? They've done some things to me. Well, it was more just a procedural I misunderstood their procedures, right?
Right.
So let's understand their procedures. You've got a number, you're connected. Well, guess what? How does it affect here? My back, like I said earlier, the sciatic pain, I can't move. I've been hobbling. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it's there. But I'm laughing about it. But quite honestly, I've been only getting 2 hours of sleep for the last, well, since Friday, right?
Right.
And it's kind of grinding on you, or grinding on me, excuse me. But push through. You got to do what we got to do. But you all don't. Right now, this is for you. Your time to look at yourself. The Marine Corps says knowing yourself and seeking self improvement. I said monetary, great, but also once you get through this process, whether it's 0, 10, 30, 50, or even 100 percentage, whatever on that scale, you have a mental health rating. You can
Right.
go to the site. You can go to a doctor now if it's if it's an issue of money, if
Right.
it's an issue like Jonathan Smith says, Coach Jeff, you get VA medical care in Mexico. Yeah, it's the old petition system where I have to take my pay stubs every quarter, my own personal process, and then I petition the foreign medical program. That's for my psychiatric care. Like, I'm making it sound like I'm crazy, but I'm going to my doctor every week or 2 weeks, depending on what I need.
Absolutely. And I
That
can add
because
that too. Yeah.
yeah,
Panama here, the healthcare for veterans is outstanding for a medical program. I can get my medications, they deliver it to my door, and I just sign a piece of paper and they send the bill to the VA. And the same thing, my wife is about to get on Champ VA. That process takes a while. So if you're at 100% P&T, make sure you get right on that, because they're delayed quite a bit. So just to put that disclaimer out there. I also wanted to touch on, and clarify with Telemedica,
hmm
they cannot guarantee service connection or diagnosis. Even though that medical evidence is pivotal to winning claims, it's not a guarantee. You still have to, one, go be prepared for your exam. Two, that examiner and or rater or adjudicator has to agree with that medical evidence. So even though it's a very powerful piece of medical evidence or a part of your claim, there is not a guarantee that every single case will, be a guarantee of service connection. And that's where you get with your coach and streamline. And if it's in a denial or something like that, you want to make sure that
Hmm.
appeal and go from there. But I just wanted to put that out there so that they'll put that pressure on Telemedica, because they are doing their jobs and they do a great job, and they do know how to talk to us veterans and get us to open up and provide that evidence. But it's still up to the VA, and the VA gets it wrong a lot of the times too. So
Yeah.
make sure that your expectations are adjusted is what I want to say about that, because again, the VA
Perfect.
is the VA.
No,
Absolutely.
that's amazing. Expectations management. Sorry, I keep shifting.
No, you're
Um,
good.
and I said to somebody in there, "Hi Jeff, haven't spoke to you in a while. I'll speak with you. I'll figure out and I'll reach out to you." And that's it. We've got clients we work with, and if you're here, and I appreciate you're reaching out. Thank you. I wanted to reach out to David R. Fleury. I got out in '78 after. Yeah, I would. David, give us a call. Talk with do the at least the discovery call. Call us, and we'll see what we can do.
Absolutely.
Too often, a lot of veterans, it's just really it's an education piece. It's what's the process, and why do I say it's a process? Because it's a bureaucratic process, right? We're no longer as in ancient Rome or Greece where you get to take the land and partition it. Now it's okay, Jay Reed, you got migraines from service, you got tinnitus, whatever. Well, I think I'm 50. Well, they only give me 10. Right? There's a process. What do you do with that process? Even with the VA, and give it, you can say, I have a great claim. I have my IMO, I have a statement, my service connective conditions are great, I go to therapy, things are the same or worse. Exactly that, because there are people too within that system that we're talking about. That's what I'm enumerating. That I have individuals that say, I had an individual, true story, and I cried when he got his win, because he came to me, Navy Bubba, right? You got to say the Department of Navy, who, yeah, sorry. He literally had 10%, just like everybody else here, but it was for like some type of ankle strain. But he just kept talking PTSD, and I said, okay, let's go for it. And so he went and he did. He didn't say PT, but he said mental health. It was
Right.
secondary. It was really just that, and it was how does this one thing prevent him in real life? And it actually the 10%, he could have gotten a higher percentage on that maybe, but it literally took him out of work. Constant surgeries, the VA wasn't doing something for him, so then he took his own initiative and make his own decision making process, took it outside, and then he came and said, we're going to do this. The VA denied him,
Right.
but he had the evidence. He did the HLR, he did all the stuff that he did, and that person apparently just had a bad day because he came back at 70% mental health or depression, anxiety, secondary to a knee strain. So it's a process. Stick with it. That's why I'm saying that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Exactly why. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we're gonna hop into some questions here too. Time
Hmm.
is ticking away. You can get carried with this topic because it's such a broad topic, and there's so many different service-connected conditions people can have. So I want to jump in and make sure we can at least answer some of these questions for you. That's why
Hmm.
you're here as well, not just to hear us ramble on, but to get some nuggets and some information. So I'll kind of pick right here. I see Daryl Baker, Senior, is saying, I have lawyers and I'm still fighting after 10 years. So, in that sense, it's a very tricky thing with when you go through that process with lawyers, or you're going through a VBA. Typically, we take care of claims in the HLR, or the supplemental, or
Hmm.
the increase, or the new claim process. I can understand how frustrating it is when you're waiting that long to go through that process. So you have to get with your coach. If you haven't signed up already, we can just do a free discovery call and find out if the program is right for you, or if you need to hold on to that claim, or you may want to let it go. That's a lot of back pay, so that's a decision that's very tough, but it's one that you have to make. I know I can only tell you from a personal experience. One of my veterans, he was fighting for his sleep apnea for
Hmm.
about I want to say 10 years, just like you. And he signed up with a lawyer. He didn't hear from him for 10 years, really. It was just Christmas cards, and that was it. He wasn't helping with the claim. And, I had him say, look, this is what you need. Let's go get this medical evidence. Let's file your sleep apnea secondary to whatever. And, he was able to get his sleep apnea service connected in a matter of months. And that lawyer then tried to get that money from him after the fact, and it was a whole issue. But just to let you know that sometimes there's quicker ways to get about it, but you have to decide on your own if the back pay is there. Call if you have to get with your coach, if you have a coach, and let them give you the numbers for the White House hotline or everything like that to follow up on that claim, and try to see if you can speed that up. Um, Also, let me see. Leah, if I'm pronouncing that right, Roberts, it says that she's interested in the women's circle class. Yes, definitely. There's a link that if your coach can share that with you on the class for the women's circle Wednesday, so you can get more information on that. A great space to be uncomfortably vulnerable and discuss some things that may have been weighing on you for over the years that weren't able to talk about openly in another forum. Definitely get in tune with that, and get the link for that from your coach, or if you get a free discovery call, get signed up with us, and we'll definitely send you that link for. And it's one of our classes that we have every month, so you're definitely in the right place for that. Great resource. All right, we got Patrick Morrissey. He says, Jay Reed, can you continue to hold an RN license with your psych disability? You absolutely can. I just chose, for personal reasons, to step away from the bedside because I have other service connected conditions besides my PTSD that was affecting my ability to work, like my back. You got to turn patients and stuff like that. So my migraines, for instance, so stuff like that made it, this job a little bit or a lot bit, more compatible with my conditions and stuff like that. But you absolutely can hold your RN license and have a psych disability. That's not a problem. And that's another thing too. There's a lot of myths out there about, getting your mental health service connected because you won't be able to carry your guns or you won't be able to hold a job or no, typically, unless you're a pilot, and that's only specific companies, whether private or commercial, whether you work for the air traffic control, those type of jobs, they're very stringent on the type of mental health or how high your mental health can be and stuff like that. But the average job, you should be fine. They can't discriminate against you for having a disability that's federal, and you're covered there. So you can absolutely have both. And as far as the gun issue is concerned, which is a hot topic for a lot of veterans, unless you're homicidal or suicidal,
Mm-hmm.
you can carry your guns with 100% mental health rating. We have some coaches that we work with that are 100% for mental health, and they have their gun collection, and nobody's knocking on their door trying to take away their guns. So you're fine
Mm-hmm.
there as well. All right.
I
So
was a
let's
cop for 5 years,
there we
and
go.
3 years of that I had 100% permanent in total, but 70% of it was for mental health. So yeah, it's just as long as you go to your doctor, you take your, do what you're supposed to do, there'll be no question on it. Even if you don't go to your doctor or take your medicine, like you said, suicidal, homicidal, right? Just make sure that if you have a rating, you're going to the air traffic controller, like you said, you can have, but you've got to have, or even Secret Service, I know is a big one because I looked into it too. Go to your doctor, take your medication. Just do what you're supposed to do. Absolutely. Good question though.
Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of go down the line here in our
Mm-hmm.
start questions. We got Upshift 26. So too bad the VA wants to take compensation away from us. It's difficult enough to get into the Hundo Club as it is, and we're not here to bash the VA by any means because when they do right by us, they do right by us. So I don't want you to give up their Upshift. It's again, it's a labyrinth. It's a fight. It's a brawl. Sometimes you get the decisions that you're entitled to. Sometimes you don't, but you again, that's where sticking with your coach and getting back in the fight and not wallowing in that defeat. Get right back up, do your appeals, come up with a
Mm-hmm.
strategy, whether it be a high level review or supplemental or getting more evidence, and just keep at it. And you will get to that Hundo Club if your symptoms and your conditions warrant. You'll get there. So don't give up on the fight. But yes, it can be very difficult, with the VA to get that done. Shelly was asking earlier when I mentioned about having her 94-year-old Navy veteran dad and her brother disabled Air Force veteran. Can you be compensated as a caregiver? And I was saying if you go on va.gov, there is actually a caregiver program. I'm not sure, I know it was available last year, but I don't want to swear to it. I would definitely go on
Mhm.
va.gov and hit that search bar, type in caregiver program, and you should get some information on that. And they do pay a pretty good amount if you do qualify. So it's a process like any process with the VA. They do interviews and stuff like that, but make sure that you at least look into it and see if you qualify, because that'll be a huge help to you, I'm sure. So definitely a great question.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know if you want to handle this one, Jeff. Steve Barrow says, could you address if or why the VA does not recognize my Army Reserve weekend warrior injuries? I have 12 years Navy active duty and 3 years Washington
Check.
National Guard.
Better to have it from the active duty side than the reserve side. I tried to, and this is all anecdotal. This is just my own personal. Like this happened to me. I did 6 years in the reserve. When I tried to refile my stuff, I tried. I went there for the annual. We do like a medical dental stand down, right, every year. And so over 2, 3 years, I think it was after I filed my first claim, I was like, I just go here because I don't really go to the doctor anyway. And I tried to use it as evidence. Now, look at it this is how I look at it. The VA is, at least this is how I think the VA kind of looks at it. It's 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. Okay. 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year after initial training, whatever your MOS is, I don't know. But after your initial MOS, you're only going to do about 60 plus days, if this Marine can count. Really, I don't know. But that's about 67 days out of the year. And then you have another 30, 300, 290 days to play with. What's going to happen, right? You have to show three big things: service treatment record. That's why active duty is amazing. The reserve side too is awesome, right? If as long as that you can show a service connection and a diagnosis. If it's in your medical record, you can apply for it all you want, but the VA has to recognize it as a current diagnosis and of a chronic aggravating nature, right? And I'm not saying don't do it, but you need to discern once you get into that methodology with your coach, right?
Right.
If I don't know, I've got people that I've worked with that are either, they only had 1 year of active duty time and the rest was reserve, or I have people that were 2 years active duty, did some Iraq, Afghanistan. So it's very dependent on just the veteran Steve, as well as what is the content of what you did in the reserve or the guard, excuse me. So I would say you can use it, but what weight does it hold? That's the only thing is what I would say to finish up.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, thank you for that, Jeff. And again, Steve, definitely take that advice. And again, if you're not with the coach, get with the coach and streamline that strategy. SCM method, strategy, education, medical evidence. It wins claims. So just because you're a weekend warrior, as you said, doesn't mean that you're not entitled to benefits. So great question. I'm sure there's other veterans on here that have that same looming question. So I appreciate you putting that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I got Bamboo Pandolfi, if I'm doing that right. Had a lumbar CMP. You're quoted in the decision letter complains of radiation down bilateral thighs or tights. I think that's supposed to be thighs. It was never addressed by the rater. Would that be inferred claim, therefore pending claim? If so, um, is it best argue with the HLR now that your service connected for sciatica? And again, that's not knowing your whole story. Definitely, if it's under a year and you want to get with your coach, you can definitely pursue that higher level
Mm-hmm.
review and get a supervisor to look over that and pursue that. If it's been over a year, then you might have to get some more medical evidence. Or if your service connected for the sciatica now and you want to go for an increase on it, that's another thing you want to talk to your coach about. So we definitely can help you there. So good question. I think we answered Patrick Morrissey. He was asking about veteran-friendly psych doctors. And again, Telemedica is that independent company that helps veterans get that IMO or that nexus or anything that they may need to connect their mental health or their physical claims to their service or service-connected disability. But today we're talking about mental health
Mm-hmm.
secondary to service-connected disability. So
Can I say something on that with Patrick?
yeah,
Veteran friendly psych doctor. I know what he means. I know what he means. Think of it this way, y'all. If my psychiatrist right now, I speak and in I speak Spanish in my meeting with him. Not a veteran of any branch, anything, but he's a compassionate individual. He listens to what I have to say, and that's what matters. To me, if I'm going to somebody, I want them to be able to listen, right? Because you're paying, like I'm paying for my time there, yes, but there's a certain methodology and process that I'm like, he's got some education behind it. And when I talk to him, I'm able to articulate what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, right? It's not so much. I mean, I know the vet friendlies. I've been around vet friendly doc. Actually, yeah, I've been around doctors that are veterans themselves, and that's great. And I love that because you can connect a little bit, probably more easily or quickly. I don't know, Jr. If you have any instance or insight on that, but I want maybe look at it this way, and this is us as veterans before. I'm fine. That should not ever be in your repertoire. Get that out of here. It's even a bad word. Like, I'm married. It's a bad word. You don't say I'm fine or in address to the other person. Now, what do I say that? We need to shift our mindset a little bit in terms of the vet friendly because, you go to telemedica, I get people that, you send them through 30, 50, whatever percentage they receive. It's not up for us. It's not up for the telemedica to say. It's up for the VA to discern and ascribe the
Right.
percentage based upon the evidence that's provided. And
Yeah.
it's what all your job really is you got to make this here, everything in here that you're feeling and thinking and going through, that's evidence. That's it. That's anecdotal evidence. We need to get that out so you can be appropriately rated, right? It's not a back extension where they can check or oh, this is your wrist, excuse me, wrist,
Right.
like check you for like carpal tunnel or something. So I just wanted to say that on that comment. Sorry.
No, 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 no apologies. You're absolutely right. And I can tell you we're so jaded from our experiences, whether it be a VA doctor or a civilian doctor that doesn't understand veterans and their conditions. And
There
I
you go.
kind of think that's where he was going with the whole vet friendly
I
thing.
got you.
Yeah, I'll give you an example, and Jeff just touched on it. I have a veteran that I'm working with now. She went for a CMP exam prior to coming to us, and the examiner was like, "How are you doing today?" And she literally said, "Oh, you caught me on a good day or a good mental health day. Usually I'm XYZ." And that
Mhm.
examiner took that one
Yep.
simple phrase and ran with it. And guess what? They dropped her from 70% for her PTSD all the way to
Yeah.
30, not
Yep.
even 50, 30%. She had to move out of her apartment. It was a whole mess. So when
Okay.
Jeff brings that point up about, you're not there to pretend or to put on a show, you're there to explain and to emphasize how your service connected condition or your mental health condition or both affect your everyday life, to what extent. And it doesn't matter if that day of your exam you're having a quote unquote good mental health day. The point is to explain how bad your symptoms have been, can
Mhm.
get, and have gotten, so they can rate you for the extent of that versus what that day is like. Because that bad day, even though you're having a good day on that CMP exam day, that bad day is going to come again. So they have to know how bad it can get, whether you're having a good or bad day. So when you say, don't go in there saying you're having a great day, or don't go in there
Mhm.
to have your worst day or whatever else, is simply explain your symptoms to the point where you're letting them know, regardless of what's going on today, this is what I've been going through, this is what I have been through, and this is what I'm continuing to go through to this day, and what will probably happen in the future, to make that distinction and kind of protect yourself from, that whole whatever can you say can be used against you type deal.
The dreaded
Right.
lowering. No, I'm
And
with
go
you. They
from
did
there.
that to me on my back. They did that to me on my back because same thing. Oh, I'm fine. I'm feeling good. 40 down to 20.
Right.
So tell your truth hugely. Hey,
Absolutely.
I got this gentleman here. If I can answer this, I have experience
Yeah.
with it. Albert Quiros, TBI, PTSD, unfortunately was placed under a VA appointed fiduciary. It seemed out of the blue. Any other vets dealing with their TBI getting worse at times goes by. Any vets dealing with the fiduciary. I can speak anecdotally that when I got my 100%, it was a mistake by the doctor. Put it on my note and hey, needs a fiduciary. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm working full time. I got a house. I got two cars. I'm managing a 35-year mortgage pretty well. And I'm also married. So she was managing everything. But I was like, why are we giving now the name? What's going on? Well, I did the research. And if the VA determines that you're not able to, at least the research that said for my specific case, let me put that out there, that disclaimer. When I looked into it, the VA has determined that I wasn't able to for some type of evidence. It was just the check mark that you're not able to handle or manage your money. So they'll disperse the money and they will manage it for you. Now, if you could provide evidence to the contrary, That's your choice as well, but make sure you have, and that's, I can't get into that, of course, because that's something into an area that I don't know. But if
Right.
you do decide to look into that, make sure you have the evidence of if you can manage your funds correctly, right?
Right. And then I'm going to go back into the comments here.
Yep.
Got Mark Nichols. He says, I have a foot drop from a back surgery and service event, which is rated on my medical board retirement. Does somatic symptom disorder with anxiety and panic attacks fall under a lifestyle impact claim, or would that be considered a separate claim? So, a couple
Hmm.
of things to unpack there. The somatic symptom disorder, or whether you call it anxiety or depression or peanut butter jelly, like we like to say here, we really don't try to focus on the actual diagnosis,
Yeah,
focus on your
absolutely.
symptoms. And then the diagnosis will come from that. So if you're having anxiety or depression or mood swings or lack of sleep because of this foot drop surgery and it's service connected, you can definitely, get that medical evidence to link that mental health condition, whatever it may be, to your physical condition, which would be your foot drop from that surgery. And yes, that's considered. No, I don't want to get the confusion out there that lifestyle impact is an actual claim you could file for a lifestyle impact. That's not how that works. We
Hmm.
just refer to it as a lifestyle impact claim because it's a mental health claim you're filing because that physical condition is affecting your quality of life. So hence lifestyle impact. So yes, you're in that sense, you definitely can link your mental health to that physical condition. I have another veteran with the same situation. He had surgery on his hand, and he actually got zero for the actual um, injury to his hand, a fracture, and another zero for the scar, which made him 10%. We went for lifestyle impact or mental health, I should say. Took him to the telemedica, got an IMO or
Hmm.
independent medical opinion, and we also filed for an increase on those zeros. Come to find out, he didn't even need the increase on the zero. That went from 10 to 100 P&T just on the mental health alone because he had 90% loss of use in that hand, and he was at that 10% for decades. Him and
20,
his wife
30
were
years.
overjoyed, and
Jeez.
that's why this type of claim and this topic is so important because a lot of veterans think you have to be going to war or dodging bombs and rockets and mortars or anything like that to file for mental health, or you have to have PTSD, and that's so far from the truth. And this veteran was one of those guys, and he ended up having a life change just by shifting his thinking and kind of going along the topic we're talking about right now. How does your physical conditions affect your mental health? What are the things you can't do anymore, whether it be with your kids, your grandkids, your spouse,
That's
your
even.
your
Oh yeah.
job? If you have to pay people to do stuff around your house now because you can't put up a cabinet or mow your own lawn because
Right.
that sciatica like you have, Jeff, or my back at 40%. I actually tried to wash my wash my car last month, dude, and I was down for like 3 days after, and it was like, holy crap, I'm only
I'm
39 and
sorry for rap. I'm sorry
no,
for laughing.
if you don't laugh, you'll cry, brother. And it made me realize how many other people are out there as veterans. Like we
Yeah.
have these conditions and these things we should be able to do with no problem that we're used to doing. And because of these service connected disabilities, it limits us and we don't think about it that way. And that helps me in my
So
coaching
true.
as well to use personal experiences. But that's just another example of how a simple back injury or ankle
Whew.
injury or knee injury can stop you from doing things. That's the whole topic, that
I
lifestyle impact.
mean,
How is it
that's
doing that?
succinctly
Yeah.
said. Washing a car. I mean, I don't remember the last time I washed a
Tell
car. I
me,
know
man.
that sounds pretentious because living in Mexico, I don't have a car, and I let somebody
Right.
else wash it. But when I just laughed because I was thinking I was running, and then it was like the chain of movement, right? It just all my service connected conditions is a wave, So that's just what it was for me. So I'm with you on the whole, that how it affects you there. One
Absolutely.
one last thing somebody said in here, Darnell. He's one of I know this gentleman, one of my clients.
Yeah.
He brought something on static. So this is for everybody.
Mm,
Code sheets. They're going to be sending them out. Catch with the VA. Static. What does that mean? That means if you have something at 50, 70, whatever percentage, it could be static. That means, excuse me, proper English. It will not change. Okay, it's static. Does that make sense? Now, his question is specific. I have insomnia, secondary tinnitus, rating usually static. We don't know. Whatever it says on that code sheet, number one, Darnell, so we can get together later about that. Number two, let's just be honest, it's the VA. They can pick and choose if you're not 100% PNT to raise you or lower you. But that's a different story for a different time. But great topic. nonetheless, strategy, education, medical evidence. You think it works?
Absolutely.
I think so. Get in touch with us. I had a great time today. Thank you very much, Coach Cher Reed, for sharing some of your insight, your in your service. Thank you, Cher.
Appreciate you too, Jeff. And let me
Mhm.
see if there's any one last question we can get in here before
Absolutely.
we close. That has to do with our topic. I'm trying to scroll through here. You're welcome, Naomi. Anytime we're here to help and get with your coach as well and get that prep or go on one of our classes and get the extra prep for your mental health CMP. Outstanding. Let me see. Trying to see if there's
Patrick Morrissey with the question, can you file HR to HLR? No, it'll be a supplemental, but work with, if you got a coach with us, we're not going to get into those specifics right now at the time, but work with your coach, go through the denial letter, flush it out, put it out on paper, discuss, hey, what is the next step? Do you just do the same claim with a supplemental, new evidence, or do you go a different route? I mean, there's just so many different ways that you can do this. I just wanted to point that one out too. Sorry.
absolutely. And yeah, all for everyone in the chat, thank you for posting your questions, your comments. I know we couldn't get to every single question, and it's limited time, but we tried to, get to the questions that were pretty much on topic, or we know that other veterans on here would be having the same type of questions, so we tried to get on those. But appreciate everyone that participated, appreciate spending this hour with us. And again, to wrap up and to keep that frame of mind of this mental health secondary to your conditions. Again, if you're one of those veterans, even if you have a 0% condition, if your condition is causing you to have negative emotions, to be less productive at your job, to not be able to do things at home and social life and work, depression, whatever you may call it, anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, definitely get with us. Get a free discovery call if you haven't done so already. You don't have a coach, or if you do have a coach, and you haven't discussed going for that mental health secondary to a service-connected condition. Now you have some more information. You're more informed. Go and have that
Mm-hmm.
conversation with your coach and be open to that type of claim, because it can really cut the process of you trying to get to 100%. If that's your goal, it can cut that process really short, instead of going for other types of claim that may give you a low value of 10 or even 0, and then your overall
Oh,
percentage doesn't move at all, and then you're just stuck going back and forth. So I appreciate everyone that came out. And again, we have our Zoom classes 3 times a day. We have our coffee with coaches. We have our mental health prep, CMP prep. Definitely log into those. And I like to
women's
say,
group
yeah, exactly. Women's Circle Wednesday. I saw a
Wednesday.
lot of good feedback about that in the chat. So, all of the female veterans that are interested in that, ask your coach for the vaci1.com link, or you can have that link and log on to our classes once you're an elite member and go from there. And, as I always say, we're veterans and we're not easy to deal with. So if you have that person in your life, whether it be a spouse or a family member or someone that's putting up with our crap, putting up with our mood swings, putting up with our outbursts, whether it be even a service animal or your pet, and they keep you calm, and they put up with your crap, go thank them, give them a hug, give them a treat if it's an animal, and just know that they don't have to put up with our crap. They choose to be out of love. So it's one of those things where I say, especially with mental health, we can be very unpredictable. So they'll appreciate
Yeah.
it more than give them a hug, say thank you. They may not see it coming, but they will appreciate it. And that's my story.
And there's also good deals and discounts that day after Valentine's Day. Have a good day.